stand up so you can see me.
Okay. Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the Sullivan family. So it is Tuesday and we have a hospital appointment for Joseph today. So if you've been following us for a while, you'll know that we've been on the list for Joseph to be assessed for quite a while. So this is his first. We hadn't seen, but we've spoken to occupational therapy a few months back, given us lots of ideas, checked out, the things that we were doing that we've put in place are the right things to be doing, really. So we've kind of been through all of that. But obviously there is a process which is quite long. So he's been seen by the health visitor, go back to last year. And we've been waiting for a paediatrician's appointment. So today is the day for that. Now, I don't really know, obviously, what the process is. We've been through the Rowan Centre before, but for a little one his sort of age, we've not been through the process as such before. So it's all a bit new to us. So I'm assuming this is just going to be, a first touch base kind of thing, but at least, things are moving, I guess, because there's a long wait, unfortunately. Obviously, he had a really... Yes, darling?
We're sleeping.
Is she sleeping?
Yeah.
Oh, no, we're going to have to wake her up. We had a really tough time coming out of lockdown, and then for probably up until last year with him. In the last, 4 months, maybe 4 to 5 months, we've started putting a lot of different things in place for him, just small things, and it has made a massive difference. But obviously we're still... It's not even about... It's really difficult because it's not about giving him a label. It's not about any of those sorts of things, which a lot of people assume that's what you want to do. You want to label your child. It's nothing to do with that. All we want is to be able to give him the right support that he might need. Obviously, he's due to start school this year. We've deferred him for a year. I haven't put him in nursery yet because I don't know how he'll cope with that. So it's all just about really knowing which way to support him best. I mean, we as his family know which way, or we try our best to support him the best way we can. A lot of the time we feel like we're just fumbling around in the dark, but we try our best. But it's more about being able to access the right support for him outside of the home. It's all a bit of a jumble, to be honest, and it feels a little bit like you don't really know what you're doing. But anyway, We're gonna go in now and see what they say. Right, so I'm back home. I was going to do this bit of vlog outside in the car outside the hospital, but somebody wanted my space, and spaces are pretty tight in the hospital car park, so I had to leave. So I just brought them home. It's easier. So Joseph is actually really good at the appointment today. It was always a bit 50-50 whether or not he would decide to cooperate or not cooperate. But he was really good. So obviously they normally do for any appointment, for anything, any of the paediatrics, they do their height and their weight. He didn't want to have his height and weight done at all, just refused, didn't want to get on the machine or any of those things. So we managed to do his weight by me getting on and then obviously weighing him with me and taking that away, but he wouldn't have his height done. So I thought, oh no, this is going to be really difficult. But when he went in with the paediatrician, who we've met before through the twins, he was actually really receptive. So it was basically, I can't remember what she said the tests were called now. Is it SOX testing or something? Where basically they have to do just skills like block building, copying, drawing, that, you know, draw a line, draw a circle, all those sorts of things. And all those sorts of things he's quite good at. But puzzle pieces, he's quite good at doing puzzles and things like that. So he's quite good at doing all those sorts of things. That's, you know, I didn't have any worries about that. For him, it's more the other side of things, not necessarily the academic side of things, because he's good with his colours, he's good with his numbers, he's all, you know, it's more of the sensory side of things with Joseph, the social interaction, the sensory, and maybe some of his gross motor skills. So I think, you know, we went through obviously all of our concerns. You know, we took it right back to, because obviously we started noticing things with Joseph coming out of lockdown, but equally he was sort of 2, he hit 2 when in the August of 2020. So he'd spent quite a lot of time, you know, in lockdown at a young age. And for a long time, I did think that that was probably something to do with some of his behaviours, some of the things he didn't like doing, were his age and lockdown, basically. But I remember one particular incident in it would have been 2021. I think it was the summer of 2021. And we'd arranged to go out, and his behaviour had been getting more and more difficult to manage. And we tried, you know, obviously he's number 11. We'd thrown everything that we know at all these different things, but he just continued to have these meltdowns and like complete, and they're not like tantrum meltdowns. They're heartbreaking meltdowns, because it's like he completely loses all control and he just can't cope with the situation at all. So it's not kind of like with a lot of the other ones, there's meltdowns over power struggles and independence and things like that. But this was something completely different. I'd not really seen this kind of thing before. And, you know, I mean, to the point where this one incident was when we were trying to go out and he refused to put his shoes on, he refused to get in the car, and he was only tiny. And to the point where I physically couldn't put them on his feet. He just would not have his shoes on. And the only way we got him out that day was by taking him in my car, cuddling him, carrying him to my car, and letting him take his iPad. And he sat for the whole time we were bowling on his iPad, not engaging with anybody. But it was the only way that we could kind of get him out of the house, because we promised everybody else to go out. So, you know, it's difficult when you've already made a promise to everybody else. You can't suddenly cancel it. So that was kind of the first incident when I thought, this isn't, you know, this behaviour is not kind of normal of his age, if you like. It's not that, I don't even want to say not normal behaviour, because I don't mean that, not typical of his age. But as time has gone on, and a lot of people on here, when we've spoken about it before, have suggested different things, and it's been a godsend, to be honest. The suggestions we've had from people of how to manage things, that, you know, the whole now and next thing, all of the little things that people have said, why don't you try this, why don't you try that? We've taken on a lot of different people's advice, and it's been an absolute godsend, because somebody even said on here the other day about how, you know, what have we done with Joseph, because his behaviour, he seems like a different child. And from what he was 6 months ago, he really is. We seem to have got, and it's not easy. And there are some days when it's just, you're verging on a meltdown every single day. You're on the edge of various meltdowns, and you're constantly trying to bring it back every day. And then there's other days where, you know, he's in pretty good spirits and there's no sign of a meltdown. But if we've done a lot, like today we've been out all morning, this afternoon we could very well, you know, he needs some time now to decompress, and we just have to give him some time. Like was it the week before last or last week, when we had sports days and an assembly and lots of things going on that he was happy to go out to, but it meant that it got him out of his routine. And because he was out of his routine, it kind of messed him up for the rest of the day. So then he was a bit antsy all day and for the rest of the week. And on the Friday, he just had to stay in, and he can't it's too much stimulation, it's overstimulation for him. So you have to give him some time to just chill out. And it's little things like that, and it's the little things like that have been absolutely invaluable. It's been things like, right, you've got 10 minutes till bedtime, rather than just going, right, come on, it's bedtime. And that was when we were having meltdowns all the time. And it sounds so simple now looking back. You think, why did we not even think of doing that before? Why did we? Because we've never done it with any of the others. It's just been the way, you know, things are. They've got ready for bed. They know bedtime's coming. But for him, yes, he's got ready for bed. Yes, he's had a shower. Yes, or a bath. Yes, you know, he's ready for bed. But then he needs his, you know, 10-minute warning before bed. Like with the girls, you just go in and go, right, it's bedtime now. Although we have started using it with them as well now. So yeah, little things like that, and explaining to him in detail the day before, you know, right, this is what we're going to do tomorrow, especially if we've got to go out somewhere, you know, like today, you know. So yesterday we said to him, like, tomorrow morning we've got to, as soon as I get back from the school run, we've got to get into the car, we've got to go to the hospital, you're going to go and see the doctor, all's going to be fine, you know, it's going to be, and then you can come home and you can have a little bit of time on your Switch, you can, it's all those sorts of things. And it's those little bits of advice that have been invaluable, really, because that's helped us manage with day-to-day life when we were, and like I said, it sounds so simple now, but day-to-day life was becoming really unmanageable with him, because he was just having tantrum or meltdown after meltdown after meltdown, and we didn't know how to, we felt like we'd thrown all of our parenting expertise at it, and we just didn't know what to do next. So anyway, he got an okay with all those sorts of tests. We obviously went into his whole background, the worries that we have, you know, why he was referred in the first place, and all those sorts of things. He's a little bit behind with his like gross motor skills like jumping, and his balance is not very great, so he can't, like, she wanted him to do heel toe walking, and he's not got great balance, so he can't kind of stand on one leg. He finds coming down the stairs a little bit more difficult, but then he is only 4 as well, so I know he should be doing those things by now, but those are the things that he's not so good at doing. Yeah, so it was kind of discussing all of the things that we've put in place, all of the things that we're worried about, and it's really difficult, because I know that I'm pretty sure that he's autistic, but I'm not a doctor. So I assume that other parents feel the same way, because without a diagnosis, you're kind of almost diagnosing your own child, and that's not what we do, you know. So it's a really difficult catch-22 situation. I know that he's definitely on the spectrum, and he's more than likely, high functioning, got high functioning autism, because obviously he can, you know, his eye contact is not too bad. When he feels like today, his eye contact with the doctor was quite good until he'd had enough, and when he's had enough, he'll just look off in another direction, or he'll run off. So excuse me, everything's kind of got to be on his terms, and not on, some people will say, well, you know, that's, kids should be doing what they're told and all that sort of stuff. We've had plenty of those comments before, but it's not as simple as that. You know, these things have to be done on his terms, because he can't do them otherwise. And believe me, we've tried, you know, we've got lots of experience, and there's been lots of times when kids have tried to overstep the boundaries and try and push their luck and try and get their own way and all those sorts of things. And most of the time you can bring it back and go, you know, you're having me on there. But with him, he physically and mentally can't. It has to be done the way that he has to do it, otherwise he will get inconsolably upset. So obviously we discussed all those sorts of things. Here comes the bit of a tricky part, because he is not at school, and because he's not in nursery. For him to get a formal diagnosis, they need another party's opinion. So we've been through the Rowan Centre years back with Charlotte. when she was about 7. Apparently now the Rowan Centre don't take people. This is all to do with waiting lists and numbers and complete understaffing. They won't take people nowadays unless they've got like mental health problems, which is where Charlotte's been being seen for with her her mental health issues the last year. So they wouldn't see him. The next team that he goes on to see won't be able to assess him properly because apparently they don't even meet him. It's taken from his diagnosis, if you like, would be done on a basis of the doctor's notes, the parents' notes, and the school's notes, if you like. And that's where a diagnosis would sort of appear from. And I'm guessing lots of other things put in there as well. Results of testings and like little things like he did today and all those sorts of things. And I guess it all gets put into a big magic pot and that's where they come out with a diagnosis or not. So it's a really, I always knew that it was going to be a difficult road, a long road. But it's this whole, he has to be at school to be assessed thing that kind of, because what if I choose to homeschool him? Now, to me and to us as a family, I'm not bothered whether he's autistic or not. I don't care. The only reason that the only reason we're trying to get a diagnosis for him, if you like, is because he doesn't fit into society's norms. So when he has assessments and he hasn't reached this and he can't do this and he can't do that, you know, they ask questions. Why can't he do this? Why can't he do that? Well, if he's autistic, that's why he can't do this and that. You know, if we do choose to send him to school or nursery, you know, why is he not doing this yet? Or why is he not doing that? Because he's autistic. This is why, you know, special measures, you have to have a diagnosis for him to be able to access extra help at school and things like that, because without it, he won't be able to get possibly the support that he needs. So for us as a family, I'm not bothered whether he gets a diagnosis or not. The only thing, like I said, is it's very difficult to say my child is autistic and you haven't actually been given that label by a person who's a doctor. So you kind of wonder, you're always doubting yourself. You're always second guessing yourself and going, but am I wrong? Am I wrong? Am I just not handling things very well? Have I parented him differently? Have I, you know, treated him differently than the other children? Is there something else? Am I missing something? What if I give him a diagnosis and myself, and in years to come, it turns out that actually he's not, and we were wrong. It's all those sorts of little things. And I can't be the only person who feels like this, because I flip it in my brain, because obviously he's super smart and he can do all of these things. But in doing that, he also does have a lot of traits where he likes to line up all his things and his colours and all of that. And, you know, that is typical in children with high function autism. So it's you're kind of just in this limbo, really, where as a parent, he's just Joseph to us. And I'm not bothered whether or not he, you know, is autistic or not autistic, or I don't care. He's just Joseph to us, and we love him for him. But, you know, now obviously, now we've put more things in place that help him to manage day-to-day life. And that's been with the help of occupational therapy as well. Different things that they've suggested that you feel like you ought to have known anyway, but you don't, because, you know, we've not had to parent like this before. So we do have to treat him a little bit differently. And that's difficult as well, in treating one of your children differently than you treat the other ones, because for me, I treat everybody the same. So all of a sudden, you know, then you have to explain to the others why Joseph gets to do this or Joseph has that or whatever. Because they're like, well, why don't I? You wouldn't let me do that. But it's because he, you know, physically or mentally can't do those things. You know, those situations for him are just unbearable. But then you start questioning yourself and doubting yourself. And it's a really big jumble. It really is. I mean, obviously the doctor couldn't give me her opinion. She can say, like she said, he has a lot of the traits of autism, but it would be high functioning autism. But we can't obviously have a diagnosis without another team looking at him or looking at his, you know, his notes and everything. And obviously for them to create a proper diagnosis, we'd need the school say so as well. So yeah, that's, the baby's just woken up. She fell asleep in the car and she hasn't had a proper nap. Now she's grumpy. So I'm a bit jumbled, really, to be honest. I mean, I knew this was like the first, and don't get me wrong, the paediatrician's lovely. She's really, really lovely. I've dealt with her before with the twins, which I hadn't actually realised. Didn't recognise her name because we used to have a different paediatrician with the twins. And I've only really seen her online before. But she's really, really lovely. She explained everything, you know, really well. And like she said, there is a very long waiting list for this next team anyway. So the result is, and she's right in what she says as well. She said, all you can do with or without a diagnosis is, she's given me lots of pages to look at, and I've got a questionnaire to fill in as well to give her more details, because she said, you know, we don't really have enough time here today to discuss everything that she'd like to discuss and all the little things that she'd like to know about Joseph, because you have a time slot. So she's given me a questionnaire to fill in so that she can do her report properly. And in the meantime, we're going to go back for another review in 9 months' time. And should he start nursery in the next sort of however long, we can get in contact with her and say he started nursery. But like she says, all you can do in the meantime, or with or without a diagnosis, is support him in his needs that he has. And she's right in that, you know, and that's what we've been doing for the last however many months anyway. Rather than trying to make him fit into the box of our normal parenting, we've had to, you know, probably change our parenting a little bit. And that's kind of gone around. We've found ourselves doing different things with some of the other children as well. So it has changed just a little bit, not in a bad way, obviously. It's made us put better things in process, but it's a really difficult one. And I'm pretty sure there's lots of other parents with children on the spectrum with autism, ADHD, any of those sorts of things, that I probably feel the same way that I'm feeling right now, in that sometimes, like I said, you question yourself, you know, am I right in thinking this? Is this all wrong? And then you, on the bad days and the days where it's meltdown after meltdown and he just can't cope with doing certain things, you think, no, I'm not wrong. This is the thing. But I think sometimes people think, you know, because obviously autism has many different levels as well. And one autistic child is not the same as another autistic child. And then you have high functioning autism, and, you know, some children you look at and people go, well, he doesn't look autistic. And you think, but, you know, you don't see him at his worst. It's very difficult, and society can be very difficult as well when it comes to things like having autism, mental health problems, any of those sorts of things. Because if you can't physically see it, people automatically assume that you're either making it up, or that it's just, you know, didn't have that in my day, or you're just not, you know, it's just not true, you know. I'm rambling now because I'm still sort of processing everything in my own head. And I knew we'd not walk out of there today and suddenly have a diagnosis of, you know, whatever. And it's not that I'm looking for, because then you have other people saying, well, why are you looking to label him with something? I'm not looking for that. I just don't want to see him heartbroken every time he has a meltdown and things are out of his control. I don't want to see him have the reactions that he has, but I guess that's just part of him anyway. And there's some things we'll just have to get used to. But like she said, maybe nursery will be good for him in, you know, because he does like his routine. He does, you know, he may well adapt quite well because he does like other children. He's not always very good at interacting with them, but he does like other children. So yeah. I'm going to go and do some bits and bobs, and then I'll probably come back with some more thoughts in a minute. Okay, I'm back with some more thoughts. So I think this vlog is going to be a little bit like that, because things are going to keep... I'm one of those people that as I process things, things keep popping into my head. And how I feel at the end of the day probably won't be how I feel right now, if you see what I mean. So I was just chatting to Ben, because obviously I can't stand anywhere in this bathroom that makes it look better. It just doesn't. Oh, here, maybe I'll just stand here, then you can see the wall over there. I was just chatting to Ben about some things. There's many layers of this for me. Obviously, when we first went down the route of a diagnosis, we were having a really, really tough time with Joseph. His meltdowns were out of control. We were finding it difficult to cope with knowing what to do for him. And for me, especially, I hated seeing him so upset all the time. It was just heartbreaking. He was always, he's always been quite a quiet, sort of laid back-ish baby. So this whole, there's lots of things, if I look back, that were flags, red flags, but I don't really consider them to be, they could have been anything. They could have just been developmental or whatever. But like, for instance, he can be affectionate when on his terms, but if he falls over and hurts himself, he doesn't want anybody anywhere near him. He won't immediately come running for a cuddle or anything like that. He'll probably scream, have a meltdown, and cannot stand for people to be near him. He just wants everybody to get away from him. So you have to, it's really difficult, because you have to, even if he's really hurt himself, you have to leave him, because it just makes him worse. It makes him, he overreacts anyway to the injury, and it makes him much, much worse if you try and pick him up or cuddle him or say, where did you get hurt, or any of those things. So you have to kind of leave him until he's calmed down, and then not ask him, what's hurting or anything like that. You just have to kind of go around it in a different way, because he won't show you where he's been hurt, and he won't talk to you about it. He might do the next day. He might say, oh, that's where I hurt my knee, but he wouldn't at the time. So you have to handle it differently to how you would with the other kids, because your natural instinct as a parent is to scoop him up and give him a cuddle. Or the older girls might say to me, you just tell us to get up and get on with it, which I kind of probably did, because I've never been the kind of parent that is, unless they've really, really hurt themselves. If they just fall over and bump themselves, I'm normally like, come on, let's get up, let's carry on, you're fine, just give it a rub, you'll be okay. And I think that's kind of bode well, because like when Liv broke her arm, I knew it was broken. You could see it was broken. It was not in the right place. It was like that. So, but because we don't panic about these things, it was like, oh yes, I think we might have to take you up to A&E, knowing full well that it was broken, and it was, and she needed operating. A bit like when Isabel did her knee and her other ankle, it was like, you'll be fine, knowing full well that they were going to try and put her knee back into place, which made me feel extremely sick. So we're not those sort of types of parents, but he does completely. If he hurts himself, he totally overreacts. So your natural instinct is to go, come on, let me have a look. Let's see. Yep, it's fine. But he won't let you anywhere near him. So I've kind of lost the thread of where I was going with this. But like when you put him to affection, that's what I was saying. He can be really affectionate. He can give you kisses and cuddles and all of that, but it's on his terms. So, he won't have a cuddle if he doesn't want a cuddle. And I know that's kind of, kids can be like that anyway, but like at night time, he doesn't like give you a big kiss and a cuddle before bed. He lies down in bed and he wants you to sit near him, but he's not interested in, it's all those little things. But obviously when we first went down the diagnosis road, that's what I was saying. It was because a lot of things were feeling unmanageable. Now, since then, we've had lots of advice. We've had lots of help from you guys on here, especially. And from, we've done a lot of research. I've done a lot of reading. Some of it good, some of it bad. You know what Google can be like. Lots of tips, lots of different things that we've tried. And we're kind of at a point where, we're, like I said, we do live on the edge of a meltdown most days. But it doesn't feel quite as overwhelming as it did just a few months back. It feels more manageable, and I think we know also now his meltdowns can last up to an hour sometimes, but now we're better at fielding them. And also, if he does have one, we kind of know which way to manage it a bit better. Like, he just doesn't want anybody near him. Meltdown for whatever, you just have to leave him alone and he will come round eventually. So, you know, even if he's having a meltdown in the middle of the floor, you have to just step over him and leave him, because he doesn't want you anywhere near him. He'll normally go off somewhere. So we've learned a lot in a short space of time, which kind of leads me on to thinking, you know, why are we seeking a diagnosis for him? And it's like I said before, it's because he doesn't necessarily fit into society's norms. Now, for us, I don't care whether he fits into society's norms. I really don't. I don't care, because I love him endlessly, like I do all of them, regardless of whether he fits into norms or not. I don't fit into society's norms, so, you know, why should my children? But there is this road that in this life, in this country especially, you feel, you know, your kids get checked, and it's really difficult, because obviously you want your kids to get checked because that's how things get picked up. So I'm not saying that, you know, developmental checks and all that are bad. I'm not saying that at all, because they do pick things up, and sometimes things that can be serious. And obviously we have doctors and all that sort of stuff to help us and to make sure that our kids are well and all those sorts of things. But then when it comes down to other things, you know, it's a really difficult situation, because, like I said, I don't care whether he fits into society's norms, as long as he's happy and he's a good person like the rest of the kids, and he's polite and well-mannered like all the other kids are, and I'm not bothered. We've all adapted to help him and help him navigate life more easily, and the whole family have kind of adapted to that very quickly, and that's because we come as a team, we come as a package. But it does you do find yourself going down this road, and you think, I'm going down this road so that he can get support for school, when I don't even have, I don't even have that much faith in the education system at the moment, for one reason or another. And don't get me wrong, you know, some of the kids have some amazing teachers. One of my friends is she's one of the best teachers I know, and she's an amazing teacher. But, you know, our school systems are underfunded, and there are some teachers that shouldn't be teachers, basically. And the system, like the healthcare system, like mental health especially, is extremely underfunded, and that's a whole nother story I'll go into another day. And it's nothing to do with the actual staff in that system, because the doctors, the nurses, most of the teachers that I know are amazing and trying to do a job in an impossible situation. It's the system, isn't it? It's the whole system as a whole. So yeah, you know, you're trying to seek something so that he'll fit into this box, when I don't want him to fit into a box. And I've made no secret of the fact that I've thought of taking the kids out of school many times. But for some of the kids, school is the right place for them to be, because they enjoy it. Like Agnes, she loves school. She loves the interaction with people. She probably wouldn't enjoy homeschooling. Other kids, Toby, for instance, I've thought of taking him out of school many times, because he would probably thrive in homeschool. It's this whole fitting into this box that I have a problem with. I don't want my kids to fit into a box, to tick this box, to make sure that they can do that. And like the education system here, especially the secondary education system, is all about just passing that exam so they can fit into that box, they can get that result. And they get taught what they need to pass that exam. And to me, that's not learning a whole subject, that's just being taught that particular thing to pass that exam to fit in that box. So I have very, very mixed views. And yeah, I'm rambling again, but I'm going to keep coming on today, because things are going to keep coming to my mind. And I feel this is, you know, I just feel sometimes that we all want to do the best for our children, and I question myself on a daily basis whether what we're doing for our children, by sending them to school, by doing this, by doing that, doing the other, are we doing the right things? Are we supporting them in the right ways? Are we doing everything that we can? Why are we doing the things that we're doing? So yeah, it's very difficult. It just throws up so many other questions all the time. Yeah, I'll be back. Okay, I'm back again. This is going to be the last time now. Although I said I'd keep coming back on, but it's the kind of end of the day, really. I've got to go and cook dinner in a minute. So the day's run away with me. I've just done the school pickup because I had to finish ordering some of the summer stuff this afternoon. And I got caught up looking at storage solutions on 𝙲𝙾𝙽𝙬. We all know where that's going to end. Me and storage, it's just an hour had gone before I even realised, and I was still there looking at storage. Anyway, this is what I mean about I feel differently as the day goes on. I'm sure everybody does, but when I've had time to process things, sometimes it takes me a while to process things properly, which is probably why I don't always react to a situation straight away. But then sometimes it either makes me feel more angry about things, which isn't always a good thing, or it makes me feel more, makes me think more evenly about things. Anyway, prime example of Joseph this afternoon, because as I said, if he gets very overstimulated with things, he kind of shuts off. So this is another one of his things that he does. So if he's like this morning, we were out most of the morning at the hospital. He had to do lots of different things and it was out of his routine. So this afternoon, he's just pretty much chilled out on his Switch. Did come out with me to the school and he's now out in the garden, but he needed that kind of couple of hours after lunch to just sit and decompress. And I tried to give him a cuddle and he was like, no, he doesn't want people around him when he's kind of having his time to kind of, I call it decompress because it's his chill out time. He doesn't want, you know, that's what I mean about him. He is affectionate, but he doesn't want you, you know, you can't just snuggle in for a cuddle. He just doesn't want people near him. So yeah, I've come to the conclusion that obviously I always knew that it would be a long road to try and get any kind of diagnosis, but I questioned myself on lots of things, on why it's needed, on whether or not he'll go to school. It worries me a little bit that to get a diagnosis, you have to have this kind of third party element, this kind of school element, because as you know, as I pointed out earlier, what happens if you homeschool your children or they're not in the system? If you choose to take your children out of the system, that therefore in this country means that you don't get the support. I don't really know where that leaves you. I don't have a lot of faith in the system at the moment. So it's a difficult one, isn't it? All I can do for us and for Joseph, all we can do as a family is support him as we are. And so far, I mean, people have commented on how different his behaviour is at the moment, and that's for all the little things that we've put in place. And as far as the other things go that he struggles with, we just have to try and make things easier for him and for us. I guess a little bit of it is also living, like I said earlier, living on the edge of a meltdown all the time, which can be quite difficult some days, because if you don't catch it in time and he ends up having a meltdown first thing in the morning, that can put him in that mood for the entire day. And it's when you're having a bad day as well that things are more difficult to kind of intervene. Do you know what I mean? It's more difficult if you're having a bad day yourself. It's more difficult to catch because you've got to be on it all the time. There's kind of no downtime from it. Do you know what I mean? You can't kind of take your eye off the ball at all, because it will end up just being much worse for him and for everybody else. So you kind of always have to be on your guard. I think that sometimes can be a little bit difficult, because we're not always on top form, any of us, all the time, are we? But like I said, you know, to us, Joseph is Joseph, and everybody loves him to bits, just as he is. So I wouldn't want to change him for anything. I hate seeing him heartbroken. The stage he was at like a year ago, when we didn't know how to make things better for him. And I do feel that we've turned that corner now, and we do kind of know how to make things easier and better for him. And if we think something is going to be too difficult for him, we just don't do it. Simple. If we think that he can probably just tolerate something for the sake of the rest of the family, we'll make it easier. If we're going to go somewhere, we'll take his iPad, you know, those sorts of things. It's just the little things. And I know people will frown that we're using his iPad, but unfortunately that's the one thing that helps calm him down. So yeah, he probably does spend too much time on his screen, but I'm not apologising for that, because it's the one thing that helps to regulate his emotions, and he's not very good at managing his emotions at all. And he doesn't always recognise which emotion, you know, he doesn't often get sad about things. He doesn't really have that kind of, he doesn't process things like that. He obviously gets angry about things, but he doesn't really get sad about things. So some of his emotions are mixed, and he finds them difficult to establish which one, you know, but that could be an age thing as well. Anyway, I've done quite a lot of rambling today. These are just the thoughts from my mind. But it's one step in a direction. But regardless, we just will continue to do what we do, support him as we do, try and make things easier for him. And I don't know about the whole nursery and school thing. We'll take that as it comes. Maybe it'll be a good thing for him. Maybe it won't. But I do feel that you're kind of railroaded in this country, especially into, you know, school is the only option. And of course it's not. So, you know, anyway, I hope you've enjoyed the video, guys. I'm going to go and cook some dinner. Although I forgot to take the mince out until lunchtime. So I'm hoping it's defrosted enough to cook. Because we're having chilli this evening. Chilli for ages. I love chilli. So yeah, don't forget to drop us a like. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Say that word. And we will see you in the next video, which I believe is my Shein haul and some stuff from Next and some stuff from Sports Direct. So clothing haul, summer. Yeah, see you later. Bye.